and they were so in love, and they used to frolic and run through. They used to run through these fields, and the fields were of poppies. It was amazing, absolutely beautiful. And they ran through, and their names were Ruth and Peter. And they would skip together, holding hand in hand, skip together, and they would just skip everywhere because they were so in love with each other. And they would look at each other regularly. They would just stop, and they would just look at each other and say, "Baby, I love you."
Come on, Peter.
And then Ruth would say back to him, "You're nice." Did you say it? She did. So they would just skip and they would hold hands, but then one day there was a small Irish leprechaun. And he really, really was jealous for Ruth's heart. Really jealous for Ruth's heart. But this small Irish leprechaun had lost his identity and he forgot he was actually English, and his name was Tristan. But he kept trying to speak like an Irishman, and he said, "I've lost my pot of gold, but I like potatoes." And he said it over and over, so he skipped on up. And he would come up, and he kept trying to wedge himself between Romeo and Juliet, aka Ruth and Peter, but he would do it subtly so that they wouldn't even notice. But he just kept saying, "I've lost my pot of gold, but I like potatoes." And then eventually, this became too much, and Peter tried to banish Tristan the leprechaun from the land. And he just said, "Be gone." So Tristan ran away. But little did they know he was going to bring back an army of leprechauns in the name of Sam, Adam, Johnny, and KJ. And they all ran up, and they all kept chanting, "I've lost my pot of gold, but I love potatoes." And they kept skipping through the crowds, excitedly, readily trying to divide this couple.
I've lost my pot of gold, but I like potatoes.
And eventually they surrounded the couple. And eventually the fairy godmother, Gillian, stood up from the back and she screamed, "Enough." And at the sound of her voice, these leprechauns dropped to the ground. And Ruth and Peter kissed.
Yes! 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 Yes!
The leprechauns lost their minds. They lost their minds. They were absolutely crazy. So again, Gillian stood up and she screamed, "Enough! Enough!" And she made her way slowly up. And she looked at the leprechauns. And she began to sniff their hair. She began to sniff their hair and said, "For many years I've traveled and never have I smelt hair like this before."
Many years I've traveled and I've never smelled hair like this before.
And at that noise, the leprechauns once again lost their mind. And Ruth and Peter kissed once again. The noises from this far off land. The noises from this far off land reached the ears of three witches. Sasha, Shannon, and Kate. and they had giant boils on their faces, and they had crooked backs, and they would make their way up, and as they would make their way up, they would grab the guests. They would grab the guests and shake them and say, "You're mine." Crooked backs, evil in their hearts, and they would say, "You're mine." And eventually they made their way up, but strangely enough, Batman appeared in the form of Rachel Wilson from the back, and she stood up and shouted, "I'm Batman." And at that noise, the leprechauns lost their minds. Julian sniffed their hair. Ruth and Peter kissed. But suddenly, a silent hush came over the lad. And the sweetest little grandmother, called Heidi, stood up and she says, "Children, I missed you." And she made her way up to the stage, all the way up. But she took her time because she was old. She made her way up. She was from a little town that was made up, that nobody had ever heard of before. And she looked at Johnny lying on the ground and she said, "If only I could pick his nose."
Oh boy, if only I could pick your nose.
And Jillian sniffed Sam's hair. And she picked his nose. It's the story. It's the story. She picked his nose and wiped it on KJ's forehead.
Oh, you look hungry. Save it for later.
And eventually, the whole team was together, and somebody dropped a coin. And somebody dropped a coin, and at that noise, the leprechauns went nuts. The witches started screaming. Batman started shouting. Jillian started smelling Sam's hair. Ruth and Peter kissed. Heidi started hugging everybody. And eventually, Libby stood up from the back and shouted, "Christopher, I've been waiting for you."
I've been waiting for you.
And Chris stood up and he shouted, "I'm Chris.
I'm Chris!
Hug Chris.
I've been waiting for you too."
I've been waiting for you too!
And in a slow motion run, they ran towards each other. And as they ran towards each other, Libby says, "I'm going to kiss you on the cheek." And they ran up to the stage, and Jillian sniffed Sam's hair, and Ruth and Peter kissed, and Heidi started hugging everybody, and the leprechauns went nuts, and the three witches started screaming. And then eventually everybody formed a line. Everybody formed a line at the back of the stage, and the senior high guests gave a huge round of applause for our week 7 2016 concert.
Ryan, move to the right. Never mind, stand with them.
I want you to take a good look at these people. Thank you for allowing us to do that. Feel free to do that as a cabin tonight.
Kiss.
So I want you to take a good look at these people standing here. These are week 7. These are the people that have committed an entire summer. And can I tell you something? I want to be real with you. I want to be honest with you. They've been here for 7 weeks. It is an amazing experience. But they